these things? Where do they come from?
Look, I know it sounds crazy, I know. But in a few hours, you're gonna have a major disaster on your hands.
Vrenick's the name. Joseph Vrennick. I kind of forgot what the rest of the opening monologue from Gremlins was, but I really wanted to parody it. So I went to Chinatown to try and remember it. That didn't really help me out. So I watched Gremlins instead. And then I came home and I decided to do a podcast about it. Hello. Welcome to welcome to another Bomb Squad Matinee episode, starring and hosted by me, Joseph Henry Vrenick, and today I've got with me...
I'm Tanner Richard Kraft.
I'm Tim Edsel.
All right. Now that I got us back on track, we got to introduce the movie. The name of the movie today, we're talking Gremlins. Maybe my favorite Christmas movie ever made. Maybe not. Maybe my second. Definitely one of my favorite horror comedies ever made. Definitely my favorite movie with little rubber monsters movie ever made. But before we dive deep into Joe Dante's masterpiece here, we're gonna get a little festive. We're gonna talk some holiday movies that have a little dash of horror, because this is technically a Christmas horror movie. So the opening question for this is gonna be, what is your favorite Christmas horror movie? Because I don't know if he prepped for it or not. I just want to throw a curveball his way. But Tanner, what is your favorite Christmas horror movie?
This was I think a surprisingly challenging question, because Christmas horror is a bit more common than you'd think. There's a lot of, really good, fantastic options. Obviously Gremlins we're talking about today. Joe hates this movie, but Terrifier 3 is a Christmas horror movie. Is a Christmas horror movie from what I understand.
It's the worst movie of the year.
Okay. There's the famous Black Christmas. Krampus from a few years ago has a lot of fans.
It's a good picture. A lot of killing.
Another great one is one we talked about on this very podcast, Anna and the Apocalypse. We got the director for that episode. That was fun. But when I think of Christmas and horror movies, there is a pretty obvious answer that comes to mind, and when I think about it, I'm really hard pressed to pick any other movie, because when I think of horror and Christmas, well, when I think of horror, the holiday that comes to mind is Halloween, and the movie I'm about to pick is, I think, a movie famous for being watchable both on Halloween and Christmas. And that is, in fact, Henry Selick's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
He said the right name!
He did.
You may argue that it's not a horror movie. I think it's horror adjacent enough for it to count.
We'll count it.
The music is incredible. It's beautifully animated. I watch it. I mean, I didn't watch it for Halloween this year. I don't think I've watched it for Halloween in a few years, but I usually pretty consistently watch it both on around Halloween and around Christmas. It's a pretty perfect movie for both. My favorite band referenced it in a song one time, Blink-182's I Miss You. We can live like Jack and Sally if we want. And I was trying to find a piece of art I have that, portrays that famous Jack and Sally dancing under the moonlight scene with the lyrics, we can live like Jack and Sally if we want on it. I don't know where I fucking put it. Maybe I threw it away.
Maybe.
Who's to say?
I don't know. But Henry Selick's The Nightmare Before Christmas, I think, is a wonderful movie. It's truly a baby's first horror, because there are some pretty intense, somewhat frightening scenes in there. But I think even as an adult all these years later, I mean, obviously the movie came out 5 years before I was born. But I think it holds up, and when it comes to Christmas horror, I feel like The Nightmare Before Christmas is hard to beat. Even the movie we're talking about today, I still think I would say Nightmare Before Christmas I like more. Back to you, Joe.
All right, good pick. Fun quick story about The Nightmare Before Christmas and me. I watched that movie like drunk once when I used to drink. Like I was hammered at a Halloween party.
You used to drink?
Yeah, I used to drink. I'm not gonna do the Mitch Hedberg joke because I don't still drink, but I used to too. I used to drink, but I got drunk at a Halloween party once, and they had that movie playing on in the background. And I want to say it's when it gets to Jack's fucked up Christmas that I began to have a strong existential crisis during it. And then the rest of the Halloween party was very miserable. So the lesson here is, kids, don't get drunk and watch The Nightmare Before Christmas. You might have a good time, but is it really worth having an existential crisis potentially? I don't think so. Tim, now that I'm done passing off words of wisdom, why don't you tell us your favorite Christmas horror movie?
Well, first off, thank you, Tanner, for the love to Nightmare Before Christmas. That was a movie that was important to me at a formative age, so it's definitely one that I give a lot of love to. And Joe's right. Don't drink and watch Nightmare Before Christmas. Smoke that sweet, sticky weed and watch The Nightmare Before Christmas. You'll have an existential awakening. But anyway, this...
Tanner's reaction to that is amazing.
Will you, though?
I don't know. There's only one way to find out. Give it a shot.
Pause the podcast, get high, watch The Nightmare Before Christmas, come back to this and report back.
Yeah, we need lab results for this one.
Jason Secord, get on it.
Yeah. Anyway, this subject, Christmas horror, is something that I've been kind of fascinated by in the last couple of years. It's sort of a subgenre that I have gone down the rabbit hole time and time again for the last couple of Decembers, and it's an odd thing because a lot of Christmas horror stuff is not very good, but then the ones that are good really stick out and are really fascinating. So before I go into my pick, I have two honorable mentions that I'd like to acknowledge that I won't go too deep into because I've already talked about them briefly on previous episodes. They're both French movies, both very good French movies. First one is 1989's 3615 Code Père Noël, aka Dial Code Santa Claus, the movie that Chris Columbus ripped off for Home Alone. Allegedly. I said allegedly.
Allegedly.
Calling Santa right now, hold on.
Yeah, damn. Santa's lawyers are on it. And then number two is the French film Inside from 2007. Much darker picture, but very good. Both of those are great films, but the film that I'm going to talk about for this segment is a film that my mom saw in the theater in 1974 when it came out. She knew the film by the title Silent Night, Evil Night, but we all know it as Black Christmas. Black Christmas is a very important, not just Christmas horror movie, but horror movie in general. It's arguably one of the benchmarks in sort of launching the slasher genre. It's one of the movies that inspired Halloween, which really skyrocketed the genre. So it's very important on that level. It's also generally considered to be one of the greatest pro-choice movies. One of our local filmmakers did a little screening of it at Arcadin I think it was last year. That was funds were going towards Planned Parenthood and abortion research. So yeah, it has that sort of angle to it. It's just a very, very good movie. Bob Clark is a fascinating director because all of his movies are either silly, goofy comedies or the darkest shit you've ever seen. And this falls into the latter camp. But I like A Christmas Story. That's a fun one. It's so weird that he made both of those movies. God, multi-talented man, Bob Clark. But Black Christmas, great film. Watch the original. Don't watch the shitty 2006 one or the shittier, what was it, 2021, 2019? Whatever, it sucked. Don't watch it. Watch the 74 one. Back to you, Joe.
I kind of liked the 2006 one.
It's
right.
It's been a minute.
Kinda.
It's been a minute, to be fair, so I don't remember it super well.
Yeah. All right. I just got off the phone with Santa Claus, guys.
Okay.
Yeah. He told me you're gay.
Well, what's new?
No, he said me Joseph Henry Rennick is gay, is what Santa Claus told me.
Well, what's new?
Sure. And pigs fly.
He told me you're gay.
Okay, well, he's an asshole. Anyway, great picks, Tim. Excellent picks. All right, my time to shine in this regard. I'm gonna have to make it an honorable mention, mostly because we already did an episode on what would have easily been my pick. It's at this point since become my favorite Christmas movie of all time. It's definitely my favorite Christmas horror movie at this point too. I think The King has been dethroned. I don't think Gremlins is number one. My new number one is Anna and the Apocalypse, but we already did an episode on that. Go watch that instead. Well, no, don't go watch that instead. Watch
this
that
fucking
after
guy.
this.
Stop watching our new episode and go watch the old shit.
Well, to be fair, that is one of our best episodes.
It's a very good.
Finish watching this episode, then go and watch that.
We have a playlist for Bomb Squad Talks Christmas. Just go down the playlist, watch them all. Watch us talk about Catch Me If You Can.
Exactly. But yeah, no, Anna and the Apocalypse, it's, I think, at this point, my favorite Christmas movie, but we already did an episode on that. Go watch that later. Couple honorable mentions. Black Christmas is up there. The original, specifically. I think Better Watch Out would be another one that I would put on there. It's like What If Home Alone, but Kevin McAllister was actually a legitimate sick fuck.
I low-key hated that movie when I watched it. I might need to give it another chance, but that movie pissed me off.
Oh, I think that movie is intended to piss you off. It's like one of those movies that's like, it's so vile and mean-spirited that, like, if it pissed you off, I think the movie won. Speaking of movies that are relentlessly miserable and intended to make you miserable and done in a good way, unlike that shit piece of garbage fucking Trash Fire Terrifier 3. My only other honorable mention is Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 1 and 2. Those movies are not necessarily so bad they're good. 2 a little bit kind of leans into the so bad is good territory. Not Part 1. Part 1 in particular is relentlessly miserable, and it's a solid grindhousey Christmas horror movie. Definitely watch that. Both of those. Part 2 particular for Garbage Day.
Garbage Day.
It's Garbage Day.
I did get to watch Part 1 on 35 at your work.
Hell yeah. I still haven't seen it in 35 millimeter. We have the print still.
Yeah, I remember
the print still.
I remember that being a decently dirty print too, which was fun.
Honestly, that just makes it better.
Yeah, I think the dirtiest one you guys had was the first Evil Dead. Literally, the film melted at one point, which they got it up and going in a couple minutes, so it was fine. So it was actually cooler that I got to see that.
Right.
I've seen the Evil Dead a million fucking times. I've never seen the Evil Dead melt before my eyes.
Yeah, neither have I. But going to my pick here to get us back on track. My actual answer to this question, that's not Anna and the Apocalypse or Gremlins, is Krampus. Honestly, I would call Krampus the spiritual successor to Gremlins. because those movies have the two movies have a lot in common. In particular, Little Rubber Monsters. They might not be as rubbery in Krampus, but there's a lot of like real little robotic animatronic monsters in that. That's pretty fun. It's very funny. It's also kind of creepy. There's a lot of good atmosphere in it. Michael Dougherty is a very, very underrated director. And I still think he's 3 for 3. I don't think he's made a bad movie yet. Tanner disagrees with me. Because I know you didn't like Godzilla King of the Monsters, did you? If I remember correctly. I think that's the best American Godzilla movie, personally, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
think Ghidorah's neat.
That I could get behind.
So yeah, Krampus, that's my pick. Definitely watch that one. But let's be real, Krampus, the movie, would not exist if not for Joe Dante's 1984 masterwork, Gremlins. Came out the same day as Ghostbusters. Fun fact for you. What a year 1984 was. And also one of the movies responsible for the PG-13 rating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this is literally 1984.
Yep.
That's true.
The trifecta of that summer was Ghostbusters, Gremlins, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. All three of those movies inspired the PG-13 rating.
Mm-hmm.
But enough about the PG-13 rating. Let's actually get into the movie Gremlins.
Has it got a name, Dad?
Yeah, Mogwai.
What?
Mogwai. I don't know, some Chinese word. I just call him Gizmo. He seems to like it.
Tanner, we're going to go back to you. What are your thoughts on the movie Gremlins?
So I rewatched it yesterday for the first time in might have been 15 years ago, the last time I watched Gremlins. So it was kind of like watching it for the first time when you haven't seen a movie since you were like a kid. It's kind of like watching a movie for the first time. Yeah, really all I have to say about this movie is that she Grem on my lens to like Gizmo. This movie's awesome. All the performances are really good. It's really funny. I laughed a lot throughout. The horror stuff is generally pretty well done. Joe Dante's a good director. The thing that really stuck out to me on this viewing is motherfuck. Gizmo is so goddamn adorable. Oh my god. That little bastard, my ride or fucking die for life, man. I would kill for that little guy. Because, he's just a little guy.
That's true.
He's just a little guy.
A little guy.
That's all you need sometimes.
Well, you want to know who you can thank for that, Tanner?
I'm
gonna let him think of it.
This is riveting content, guys. We did it.
Howie Mandel.
What?
Howie Mandel.
No, Steven Spielberg.
Oh, really? How so?
So originally he was gonna be Stripe. Gizmo was gonna be the villain of the movie and actually transform into a gremlin. But Steven Spielberg took one look at Gizmo and was like, the audience is gonna fall in love with this little guy. You need one good one.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Hold on. I didn't process what I was reading when it said Howie Mandel voices Gizmo. I'm sorry. Howie fucking Mandel voices Gizmo?
Yeah,
actually,
Howie
it's
Mandel voices
Gizmo.
Shut the fuck up. Deal or no deal?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Howie Mandel voices Gizmo.
What?
Yeah.
What, did he do it between episodes of Saint Elsewhere?
Maybe.
Well, I didn't know Howie Mandel voiced Gizmo.
All right.
Well, now you know.
Huh.
Knowing is half the battle.
That's crazy. Sorry, not the point. It just distracted me.
But you love that little boy Gizmo.
I love that little boy, and the Gremlins and the Mogwai general are pretty adorable, while the Gremlins are delightfully hideous. I don't know how else to describe it. They are delightfully hideous. But in a lot of that, for both the Mogwai and the Gremlins, is the amazing puppeteering work. The animatronic work, the puppeteering work, whatever they did to bring these little bastards to life is just so fun. I love the way they move. I love seeing them move. I don't know what it is. Just watching them move is entertaining in of itself. And what really helps that is that the acting all around is fantastic. Everyone really sells it. The dad character, Hoyt, played by Hoyt Axton, he's a fun little guy. Like seeing, well, he's a big guy, but like seeing that big guy. I love his stupid fucking inventions that are dog shit and don't work. You know what?
Buddy.
Try again, King. Eventually you'll hit. Keep making dog shit. Eventually something won't be dog shit. Zach Galligan is the lead. Really fun guy. Saying his name makes me want to say Zach Galifianakis. Corey Feldman's in this movie, like he is in every goddamn 80s movie that was made for children. Like, I was just watching this, and then Corey Feldman fucking waddles in, and I literally out loud said, "Are you kidding me?" Because, like, I've seen The Lost Boys this year. I've seen Goonies this year. There's some other third movie I saw with Corey Feldman in it, and then I saw this, and I was like, this motherfucker, this guy, this fucking guy keeps showing up, but that's okay. The love interest type character, Kate, I really dug her character. I liked, first off, her whole thing about like the worst thing that happened in my life on Christmas. That whole little spiel is delivered with total sincerity, but also it's kind of funny. I'm sorry. It like I don't know why. If you say the worst thing that ever happened to you happened on Christmas, my brain just immediately registers, grandma got run over by a reindeer. Got it. I don't know why. My brain just sort of immediately registers that. And Phoebe Cates does an incredible job playing her. She doesn't really act anymore. She got married to Kevin Kline, had his kids, and then, had their kids, and then decided to just, I'm going to be a mom and never act again, with the exception of 2015's Lego Dimensions. When she returns to voice as her Gremlins character.
Let's go.
And that's basically the only acting she's done in the 21st century.
To be fair, she does still act, just not on camera.
Oh, she's a Broadway person now?
She does a lot of stage work, yeah.
I was about to say, because her children are surely adults by now. So, but yeah, I mean, this is kind of a messy spiel. I wish I wrote down my thoughts more. But in conclusion, it's good horror. It's excellent comedy. The Mogwai are adorable. The Gremlins are just, hideous little things, and I love them. The acting all around is great. Joe Dante is a good director. And what the fuck is up with Chris Columbus and Christmas? Just wondering.
You just like Christmas?
Good question.
Because like this movie's Christmas. The Home Alone movies are Christmas. Hell, even the first Harry Potter movie's kind of Christmas.
It has Christmas in it.
So much so that ABC Family runs all those movies on their 25 day. Oh wait, I forgot. They're not called ABC Family anymore. They're fucking Freeform. And then they don't play like Christmas movies the entire time for 25 days of Christmas. They just play Harry Potter, Toy Story, Frozen, and then the occasional Christmas movie. And it's always the same one.
Frozen, I can get behind because it's cold. I can kind of get behind that. The first Toy Story has a Christmas scene in it.
Yeah, the very end. The very end.
Don't know about the sequels.
It's got toys.
Back to you, Joe.
Toys are present sometimes.
All right, the one that I don't justify at all is Frozen because fuck that. Toy Story, I am lenient on because what's one thing you associate with Christmas? Toys. So.
Well, Grandma getting run over by a reindeer for one is usually what I associate it with. A horrible tragedy. Had a funeral for a bird and everything.
More than fair.
The worst thing that ever happened to Tanner.
I did hear they made a movie about that incident, Tanner. How'd you feel about the movie?
What?
The grandma got run over by a reindeer. They made that an animated movie.
What?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. Tim!
Really?
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm
right.
Googling this.
Well, while Tanner Googles the movie Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, Tim, what are your thoughts on Gremlins?
So yeah, this is definitely a movie that I mean, what can you say that hasn't already been said? So I'm just gonna come out and say it. Gremlins rocks. It's one of the better Christmas horror movies for sure. It's sort of this, perfect meeting point of like kid-friendly horror and like classic Christmas movie that come together so perfectly in this picture. So much so, like to kind of illustrate how effective this movie is much like The Iron Giant. I didn't watch this as a kid. I was like 18 when I watched this for the first time, but I still thought it was a great movie. I absolutely loved it, and I've seen it several times in my adult life. Just a good time. Everything Tanner said rings true. The one aspect of the movie I really want to get into is I think this movie is excellent at its use of music. Basically any Christmas movie you watch is gonna, play those Christmas classic tunes. But I think this one just does it so well. Like, as soon as the title card comes up and they just kind of hit you with that Christmas Baby Please Come Home, that needle drop is so good. And then the best one is when the mom is being terrorized by the gremlins and Do You Hear What I Hear starts playing. Oh, so good. So fucking good. And then she just fucking no mercy with those little gremlins. Mom is coming in with knives at the ready, gonna nuke some fucking gremlins. That's just such a great scene. Like you're talking about, the puppets are fantastic. One effect that is always really endearing to me is at the very end when Stripe is dissolving and he has this skeleton that just kind of deflates. I love that little visual. All the puppets are great. You got your iconic scene of them in the theater watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and then suddenly Phoebe Cates comes on the screen and says she has a message for Germany. That was weird, but I loved it. It's just, there's a lot of good stuff in this picture, and we'll certainly talk more about it in general discussion. So I'll pass it back to you, Joe.
All right. My time to shine. All right. Everyone's made great points on this movie, so I probably won't talk for too long. This is my now second favorite Christmas movie of all time, my second favorite Christmas horror movie of all time. I love this movie to death. I think it's perfect. I especially think it is perfect in its imperfections. Because this is one of those movies where it's kind of like The Evil Dead, where you can see the seams of it a lot of the time, but that's kind of what's endearing about it. Mm-hmm. In particular, you mentioned the scene of Stripe melting. You can see the strings that are holding that damn puppet up, but do you care? Not really. It's a good looking effect. If I can see a string, that's fine. Or like the stop motion when it's that wide shot of them all walking down the street and it looks a little wonky. Yeah, I'm fine with that. That I'm perfectly okay with that. Yeah, it's a movie that's completely perfect in its imperfections. Thinking of another example of perfect in its imperfections, a lot of the stuff that kind of happens on the side, it does not come back into play later in the movie. The Judge Reinhold character, who's like Billy's rival at the bank, he doesn't come back. He was supposed to, but he doesn't come back in the movie. Judge Reinhold just kind of disappears.
Was he in 2? I've only seen 2 once.
Judge Reinhold was not in 2.
Yeah,
Judge Reinhold kind of disappears after a while. The inventions all the crappy inventions that Billy's dad makes. None of those come back into play later. You'd think they'd have like a setup and payoff with them, but no, they're just kind of there. It's like, but does it really matter in the end that there wasn't a setup and payoff? Not really, because that movie still slaps. It's a rockin' good time. The Gremlins really are the star of the movie. Gizmo, as Tanner was talking about, absolutely adorable little guy. We love Gizmo in this household. Steven Spielberg was correct in making that character the hero. 100%. Stripe is an excellent villain, and all the other Gremlins are absolutely goddamn funny menaces. They're all little menaces, and I think that's what's so endearing about them. Constantly like drinking beer, ruining shit. They launch an old lady out a window at one point.
Yeah, but fuck her.
Yeah, fuck Mrs. Deagle. Deagle. They talk very funny too, which is amazing. I just love those little guys and the shenanigans that they get into. One of them's a fucking flasher. Shit's wild, man. Yes, Tanner?
No, nothing.
You just gave a look.
No, I'm sorry. I haven't really been listening to what you're saying. I've been reading the plot to that Grandma Got Murdered by a Reindeer movie. Are you fucking telling me that Grandma gets fucking accidentally kidnapped by Santa Claus and then develops amnesia, so they bring her back? Meanwhile, there's a whole plot with the power of attorney, and then they frame Santa for kidnapping in order to take his money because surely he's a billionaire. And then Grandma gets run over again at the end after the villain gets arrested for obstruction of justice.
See, this is what happens when we step on the landmine of mentioning movies Tanner didn't know existed.
Yeah, we get great results out of it.
I mean, reading this plot summary, I don't know if obstruction of justice is the correct charge.
Who knows? But that character in particular, Tanner, you know how in the song that they mention a character named Cousin Mel?
Well, yeah, I see that Cousin Mel got arrested for obstructing justice.
Yeah, this one character that gets mentioned in the song is the villain of the movie. and they don't even play that big a part in the song. It's just they get name dropped once. They're playing cards with Cousin Mel after the funeral.
I'm sorry, their last name is Spankenheimer?
No, that's the XXX parody.
I'm looking at it. Fucking says Spankenheimer.
Anyways, Gremlins, great movie. Cut to commercial.
Now let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you're on a bus or a plane or a train. You forgot to brush your teeth. You got yourself a bad case of dragon breath. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Bad breath.
And welcome back to Bomb Squad Matinee. Before we get back to our discussion, you like movies, you like art, go moviepalette.com. They take the primary color of every frame in a movie, they put it on a nice bit of canvas for you. It looks really cool. Tim's pointing at his one for Mandy. Tanner's blocking up. There it is. There's his Punch Drunk Love one. They can also do custom ones for you if you don't see what you want on there. You want one made for Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. They can probably make that for you, but we might lose our sponsorship with them. Who fucking knows? But they could probably also be like, your viewers wanted Gremlins ones, and we make Gremlins ones. We'll let you keep the sponsorship, so go get a Gremlins one instead. Moviepalette.com. When you go to checkout, type in the code SQUAD15 to get 15% off your order. It kind of helps us out. Moviepalette.com. Great folks. We love those guys. All right. Back to Tanner's discovery of Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. No, let's actually talk about Gremlins.
No, hold on real quick. I'm sorry. Cousin Mel is a greedy and curvaceous woman who wears too much makeup and jewelry and beats Grandpa at cards.
Many such cases.
Did they really need to bring up the fact that Cousin Mel's dummy thick?
Yes, it's plot important.
We should do a commentary track on Gremlins.
They made a fucking movie about this shit? What the fuck kind of name is Spankenheimer?
Good question. Yeah. We should do a commentary track on this. 'Cause I just want to see your reaction to it, Tanner.
Anyway, we were
Gremlins.
We were talking about Mrs. Deagle, and that opening scene is so funny to me because like she's just coming in. Your dog broke my stupid fucking snowman thing. And it's just like, I'm sorry, I'll pay for it. I don't want any money. I want your dog. I'm gonna kill the beast myself. I'm gonna run him in my speed dryer
on high heat.
And you would
that'll do it.
That's what I was gonna say. Like you would think that people would be like, lady, that's fucked up, and the guy's just like, yeah, that'll do it.
I love that. It's a great way to immediately villainize a character to us to have her come in and be like, that adorable dog, I'm gonna kill it.
Yeah. Yeah.
A really great way to immediately make us go, don't like her. Don't trust her.
She's not great.
What's her fucking name? Spankenheimer?
The other funny bit of that whole intro scene with Mrs. Deagle is when Barney comes out from under the desk and jumps onto her. And they're like picking her up off the ground. She's like, oh, my aching heart. And they're just chastising Billy for having a dog at the office, which, why does Billy have his dog at the office? It's very weird.
It's his emotional support dog.
You know what? That actually reminds me. The single funniest part of this movie is when that asshole, like, upper management, but not quite fully upper management asshole is just berating Billy at the bar after they had some drinks, and you just see this piece of shit, y'all. You know, he's a fucking lifer loser. This man's like been at this bank for 20 years. He's like 39 or whatever. And he goes, look at me, I'm 23. And I go, the fuck you are.
But yeah, the one funny thing that I didn't get to mention before Tanner interjected there, the one funny thing is like after the dog jumps out from behind the desk, and they're berating Billy for having a dog at the office. She's like, I'll get that damn dog one of these days. And then just immediately jumps back into, oh, my aching heart.
And
fucking
yeah,
son
no,
of
that's
a bitch.
funny.
Oh!
I'm sure it's intentional, but like that guy, he's like, I'm 23 years old and I'm already a manager. You're not 23. Stop lying to me.
Tanner, see, the thing is, this is the 80s, so the secondhand smoke was everywhere.
Yeah. The funniest part about that Judge Reinhold scene is Phoebe Cates comes over and is serving him drinks, and he's trying to ask Phoebe Cates out. And he's like, come over to my place. I got cable. And I'm like, man, 1984 was a very different time when that was, this will entice you to come over to my place. I've got cable.
I think I'm realizing that the guy I'm talking about is in fact Judge Reinhold.
It is Judge Reinhold, yes.
All right, just double checking. Judge Reinhold was 27?
That sounds right.
Yeah, that tracks.
What year did Fast Times come out? I feel like that was before this.
I was going to say, it definitely came out before Gremlins.
82.
Yeah.
Phoebe Cates also in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, she is.
Oh, boy, is she in that movie. Judge Reinhold, I guess people just looked older back then, but when that character showed... Well, that's the thing. Billy looks young. Judge Reinhold he's pushing 37. I'm going to be honest. So when he went, look at me, I'm 23, I just remember thinking, no, you're not. Stop lying to me. And to be fair, he was like 27. So...
Yeah, speaking of that scene, though, again, so I had watched part of this movie on the channel The Hub years back, which now doesn't exist. I think it was like owned by Hasbro or Discovery or fucking something. They rebranded. But I would watch The Hub because they would play like reruns of Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond and the Fonz. They had a really weird lineup. But
you mean Happy Days?
Yeah, the Fonz. But they aired this, and like it was a show that was like, it was a channel that was like aimed at younger audiences, so they had to like edit things down more than your average cable channel would. So, like, after Mrs. Deagle walks off and goes, "Oh, my art," Judge Reinhold goes, "You putz," and they didn't even let him say putz in that. I was just like, what did you censor?
Something that was bothering me during the entire movie is, there's a couple of cops in this movie. So a cab. No. There's just a couple of police officers in this movie, and one of those cops, the entire time I'm looking at him. I'm like, where the fuck do I know this guy? I know this motherfucker from somewhere. So I went to look it up on IMDb afterwards, and I come to discover that actor was, in fact, Jonathan Banks, who Tim might know best as Mike from Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah. Huh. You are done.
You are done. Yeah, the whole fucking Gremlin situation could have been solved if Mike just goes in there and he goes, "You are done. You are done." They would have melted on the spot.
Probably, yeah.
I do remember watching something a couple of years ago and seeing a super young Jonathan Banks. Maybe this was it.
Yeah, because he's like, when was Jonathan Banks born? Okay, if he was born in 47, he would have been in his mid-30s in this.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty...
Sorry, Jonathan Banks was in a 2006 movie called Puff Puff Pass.
Could be. Jonathan Banks and Bryan Cranston both played Commissioner Gordon at some point.
This is true. Anyway, I want to go... we were talking about the scene of Judge Reinhold at the bar. I want to stay at the bar. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink anymore, I swear to God. But I want to go back to what I was talking about, how this movie is perfect in its imperfections. So, the infamous rules of the Mogwai. The infamous rules that would later get torn to shreds in the sequel to this movie, Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Specifically, later in the movie, after the Mogwai have all become gremlins, the army has grown out of the school pool. Now they're wreaking havoc on the town. So, getting them wet, it makes them multiply, right? But for some reason, that doesn't include beer. And them drinking and getting just soaked in beer, I guess?
Yeah, I did see them, like, spilling beer all over each other. And I did have that thought, too. I don't know, maybe it's...
They're spilling...
Maybe it's because alcohol is a dehydrant? I don't know.
My interpretation is that it has to be pure water.
Okay. Because I'm also thinking it's like they're running around in the snow as well. That can get them wet. Like,
yeah.
Look, this movie is perfect in its imperfections. It doesn't follow the rules completely. It just tells the story efficiently.
Also, don't feed them after midnight. What time zones are we following with this rule?
Also, like, if we're getting into that kind of pedanticness, my whole thing is like, oh, don't feed them after midnight. Until fucking when?
That too. I always thought about that too. Like, when does it become okay again? Like 6 a.m.? I don't...
Like when the sun is up, because then it's like, oh, well, what if it's daylight savings, or what time of year? Is it variable? Like what the fuck? Guys, yeah. I think the Chinese gods that created the Mogwai maybe weren't being very fair about the rules.
No, you mentioned that, Tanner. I want to bring up one thing about this movie that really does not age well. It's towards the beginning of the movie when it's Billy's dad goes into Chinatown and he's in the shop.
I think I know what you're going for.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's showing off the travel buddy. That's what it's called, right? The bathroom buddy.
The bathroom buddy.
The bathroom buddy.
Bathroom
which
buddy.
is a bad name.
It is
no wonder this asshole can't sell any fucking inventions. He's a dipshit. Bathroom buddy? I'm sorry, bathroom buddy. That's a sex toy.
Yeah. But anyway, he's demonstrating the bathroom buddy, and he's specifically going to the toothbrush feature of the bathroom buddy. And he says the line, so now, say you've got a real case of dragon breath. It's one thing if he would have said it, but then in the background you hear a gong sound effect.
And then he, like, corrects himself.
Yeah. The gong hits, and then he looks at the little gold dragon right in front of him, and then just goes, bad breath.
Was dragon breath like an actual term?
I don't.
And if so, I don't. Is it a racist term?
There's connotations.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I think what really does not help that scene is the gong sound effect. Yeah. it's the gong. Let's be real. But yeah, that's one aspect of this movie that's really not aged the best. I'm hard pressed to think of anything else that's really aged poorly about this movie.
It still holds up pretty well, all things considered. It's definitely, like you were talking about, this is definitely like not a movie that could be made for kids today, because like this was one of those big three that were like, okay, yeah, we need to make a new rating.
Yeah.
And like I think probably there were a few titles before even those where they were really pushing their limits with like Jaws and Raiders.
Yeah.
And then this this is like we can't be putting this on PG, boys.
Let's be real. The second that Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom came out, they hit their button on the "we need a new rating" button.
Yeah.
Like Gremlins and Ghostbusters definitely helped with that push, but let's be real. It's all Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom's fault that the PG-13 rating exists.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think it's your fault, Joe.
I say that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I do think it's there was a time when we had a happy medium, and now it's just every kid's movie is PG, but is still usually pretty tame. PG-13 is just whatever Marvel action movie thing is out. And
I was gonna say the G rating doesn't exist anymore.
It's just nature documentaries and sequels to Toy Story.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, Toy Story 4 got a G rating. I'm Googling to see, like, what movies rated G came out this year.
Oh, boy.
Maybe
you know what? Yeah, I am curious about that.
Did the Paw Patrol movie come out this year?
I think even that's PG. Because, action sequence.
Thematic elements.
That's why Inside Out and Inside Out 2 is PG's thematic elements. Like, oh no.
Yeah, once they hit you with the thematic elements or moral tone, it's just like, oh, you're keeping that rating forever.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Polar Express is a goddamn nightmare of a movie, and that's rated G.
Is it? I thought that was PG.
It is rated G. And the reason why I know this is because when I used to work at the YMCA, that they heavily, like, because I wanted to give the kids a movie day when I worked at the YMCA, they heavily pushed for me to watch the Polar Express. And I protested against that. I was like, I am not showing these kids this awful piece of shit film. I am finding something else. And then I found something else. It's called The Muppets Christmas Carol.
Compromise. 2001: A Space Odyssey.
God, that would have been so goddamn... Show them Planet of the Apes. That movie's rated G.
Yeah. Show them The Legend of Boggy Creek.
There are 5 movies that came out this year.
Oh, boy.
That got a G rating. Yeah, we have there are 3, maybe 5. One of them is The Barkers Mind the Cats, but that one says it came out in 2020. One is Let It Be, which became available this year, but that movie came out in 1970.
Yeah.
And then in terms of actual movies rated G, there's The Blue Angels, which, Joe, I think you watched.
I did watch that, yes. It's a documentary.
Then there is Teddy's Christmas? No, that came out in 2023. And then there's a short film on Disney Plus called An Almost Christmas Story that has a G rating.
So there's
this information is surprisingly difficult to find.
There's one feature film that was rated G that came out and was made this year.
And it was a
documentary.
It was a docu-fucking-mentary.
That's what I was saying. Like it's always documentaries that get the G now, because it's usually like nature or something. So there's like literally no objectionable content whatsoever.
Yeah, nothing gets the G rating anymore.
Hey, MPAA, you fucking suck. You're all idiots. There's plenty of movies that don't need to be PG. They can be G.
We used to be a
Inside
proper
Out.
country.
Inside Out 2 can be rated G.
All right. Well, I
Moana
think the solution is
yes.
The solution is that we just show them old movies that were rated G.
We just show them old
parents.
boy.
If you're looking for a movie this holiday season to show your family and your children that is appropriate content,
and is
I
rated
highly
G.
recommend you watch 1969's True Grit. Fun for the whole family.
There we go.
Or even better, this is also a G-rated movie, and it exists in the public domain, so you can watch this anywhere. It's called Night of the Living Dead.
There we go.
Ah, man. I'll say this, though. Going back to Gremlins being one of the foundational movies of the PG-13 rating, if it weren't for Gremlins helping create the PG-13 rating, you absolutely 100% know that Batman Returns would get an R rating, and it would not scar children whatsoever. And honestly, the fact that that movie scarred children means that we live in a better world, because, man, Batman Returns, fucked up movie. Fucked up movie.
I was just at the screening they did this weekend, and I was literally seated next to, like, a couple with their child, like a small child. And it seemed like they were all having a good time, from what I could tell.
That's good. I was gonna say if he was like freaking out, I would have been laughing the whole fucking movie just at that kid's expense. I'm not gonna lie.
Ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
I have found a feature-length narrative movie that came out this year that is rated G.
Name it.
Oh boy, what is it?
It's called Come the Morning. Promise? No. The plot of the movie is, in search of her estranged husband, a mother brings her 3 children to Los Angeles in the hope of finding him. Dumbass, he left you. With no prospects, they wander the streets, becoming beggars before long. Things start to turn around for them when the mother meets a Christian missionary. So it's Christian propaganda.
Yeah, that's the third branch is Christian propaganda.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
they
there's
can
some
always
weird Eastern Europe.
They can always ask pretty please, because like I think I heard something about like Passion of the Christ would have gotten an NC-17 had it not been Christian propaganda.
One of the stars of this movie is an actor named Travis Knight. No relation to the Travis Knight you're thinking of. However, this Travis Knight played Billy in 1989's UHF.
Let's go UHF reference.
And it's one of his 3 credits, and his first credit in 30 years is this Come the Morning movie, which makes me think they attributed it to the wrong actor. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It's Come the Morning.
Back to Gremlins. Do we have anything else we want to say about Gremlins?
I do want to bring up the Snow White scene again, because like I do love the wides where you see just all the fucking puppets. That's genuinely very impressive. All of the work going into all those puppets.
Yeah, that's easily one of the better shots of the movie. Is just that huge ass wide shot of them all in the theater.
Yeah. Also, I think we alluded to this. I love this stuff where like the Gremlins are being rowdy at the bar. Just a very fun scene. Like weirdly, one of the most threatening images in the movie is just the one Gremlin with the ski mask and the gun just growling. I don't know why.
Oh yeah,
that one just like, damn, this guy's scary.
I was gonna say that one's freaky as shit. Yeah, you're not wrong. And then the rest of them are they're all Looney Tunes characters. Yeah. How do I know this? Chuck Jones shows up in the movie. Like, literally as himself, because he's like, I'll see you later, Chuck. No wonder Joe Dante would later go on to direct a Looney Tunes movie. And the best one. Yes, Tanner, yes. It's called Looney Tunes Back in Action, bitch.
No.
Well, you want to know what I have to say to that, Tanner?
What?
No.
No.
No!
No. This is a train wreck. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
This whole goddamn recording's been awful. I'm so sorry.
It's not been awful. It's been fun.
I spent half the time talking about grandma got run over by. I'm sorry, I can't get over Spankenheimer. What kind of fucking name is Spankenheimer?
Yes, but Tanner aside, this has been great.
You guys are doing a great Gremlins talk. I'm over here being freaked out by Spankenheimer.
Tanner,
Joe Dante, good director.
Do you have anything you want to add about Gremlins? Now that we're in kind of general discussion.
No, I'm kidding. Isn't
it funny how the teacher at the school has a lethal injection just in his classroom?
You don't?
You know, like you do. You never know when
for the YMCA, they gave me one just in case.
You never know when you're gonna need it.
Every now and again, those kids be acting up.
Just gotta put one of them down.
I have to put you down. Oh, actually, there's one tiny thing I want to bring up.
Okay.
When he's at the goddamn inventors convention, did you guys, and he's on the phone with his wife, did you guys notice the fucking time machine behind him?
Yeah. Where it's literally like
it's literally H.G. Wells's time machine.
Well, not only that, it's H.G. Wells's time machine, and then when it cuts to him a second time, the time machine is just gone. And they're like looking around trying to find it.
Yeah, that's like a great background gag. Sorry. When I saw that, I lost my mind and I had to rewind. That's the last thing I want to say.
That whole inventors convention has cameos because Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet shows up. Steven Spielberg is in that scene.
He is?
Yeah, it's like you see him driving around in a little go-kart. Yeah, Steven Spielberg shows up.
Dudes rock.
Dudes rock, baby. I mean, when your name's on the movie, might as well make a cameo.
That being said, this does bring me to an important point, which is that I feel like Steven Spielberg gets attributed to directing both this and Poltergeist a lot. No, he did not. He does. He did not direct those pictures.
I haven't heard like rumors of him directing Gremlins ever. Poltergeist I hear a lot, but I never heard Gremlins.
I think so people have come to.
It's not so much rumors as much as like the Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas thing. Like people just see the name and be like, "Oh, that guy did it."
I think.
Well, with Poltergeist, there are actual rumors that I don't believe. I just think Spielberg was maybe a very hands-on producer, but I do ultimately believe Tobe Hooper directed that movie.
Yeah. I think with Gremlins, people have kind of calmed down on, like, oh, Spielberg directed it.
Well, with Poltergeist, he's a proper producer on Poltergeist.
Right.
He's just an executive producer of Gremlins.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg is also an executive producer of the Transformers movies. Nobody's accusing him of directing that garbage.
This is true. Well, I'll say this: Steven Spielberg is instrumental in the storytelling decisions that really help make the movie. Like I mentioned earlier, he was like, people are gonna like Gizmo. You cannot make him a villain. Have at least one of these guys be a hero. In the original script, it was a lot darker. The mom died. The dog died. Yeah, they killed the Gremlins, killed the mom and the dog. It was a lot more violent, a lot more gruesome.
That does explain the random fucking, yeah, we'll just take the dog to your grandma and then I'll pick him back up on the way home, which is fucking like, what are we doing here? But now maybe it makes sense if that was just a band-aid to fix the fact they didn't want to kill the dog anymore.
Yeah. Yes, Spielberg was very instrumental in being like, no, we cannot do this, especially with this fucking thing. Kids are gonna love him. We got to make this a little bit more lighthearted. And then Joe Dante was like, well, I do like Looney Tunes.
It's funny when you bring up Tim Burton, Nightmare Before Christmas, because Tim Burton, you guys know that Tim Burton was considered to direct this?
At this point? Really?
Yeah, Spielberg was incredibly impressed from the short by Frankenweenie, the short.
Interesting. I was gonna say this because this is definitely before Pee-wee's Big Adventure, right?
Yes. Spielberg ultimately went with Dante when like he was basically the executive in charge of the movie, and he wanted someone a little more established.
That is more than fair.
But no, Tim Burton was considered to direct this.
Interesting. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. It's just interesting. That could have been a very different movie.
I'd like to visit the world where Tim Burton directs Gremlins. I don't know if I want to live there, but I'd like to visit, get a copy of that one. I'd be curious to see what that looks like. Probably not too terribly different. Probably just a lot more stop motion than puppetry. But
probably, yeah. Yeah, Tim Burton, if he directed, he would absolutely make that a significantly, like, bigger homage to B movies that he grew up on.
For the record, I think Tim Burton's Gremlins is still probably a good movie.
Yeah,
it probably
but I'm glad Joe Dante did it.
Also true.
Yeah.
Also correct.
Because let's be real here. In the world where Tim Burton directs Gremlins, we don't get Gremlins 2, the new batch. Yeah. And Gremlins 2, the new batch is fucking incredible. That movie is the ultimate, oh, you gave me a check to do whatever the fuck I want? Well, middle finger to you, I am going to do whatever the fuck I want. That movie had... That movie is just Joe Dante not holding the fuck back. It's insane.
There's a Key and Peele sketch where it's like the writer's room for Gremlins 2, and somebody in there is just like going, what if there was a lady gremlin, and just like all these absurd things, and then at the very end it's just like, all of these things happened in Gremlins 2.
You know,
yeah,
I do want to just act. Do you guys know about the many actors that auditioned to play Billy in this movie?
I do not. Tell us, Tan.
Okay, well, first off, Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid.
I could see that working, especially because Billy feels like he's written to be a little bit younger than he looks.
Yeah.
And probably was.
Judd Nelson, of Breakfast Club fame.
So Billy would have been an asshole?
Maybe. Along those lines, potentially, Emilio Estevez auditioned.
I can kind of see that working.
Rob Lowe auditioned.
Christ.
No. I could see that. I was gonna say I don't think I could see that one working at all.
I could see Rob Lowe in specifically the Judge Reinhold role.
Yeah.
Rob Lowe would be perfect for that. Kevin Bacon, too cool.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon's too cool for Gremlins.
But the big one, and this apparently only came out this year, in an oral retelling of the production, oral history retelling of the production of Gremlins. But perhaps the most famous actor that auditioned for the role of Billy is none other than Mr. motherfucking Tom Hanks.
You know, he might
would have worked. That would have worked.
He might have been a little too old by that point, but yeah, that probably would have worked.
I mean, he would have been what, 28? How old was Zach Gilligan?
Probably around the same age as Judge Reinhold, maybe.
Oh wow, Zach Gilligan was 20.
That sounds
or
about
Galligan.
Right.
Sorry, Zach Galligan was 20.
Yeah.
Tom
Put some
Hanks
respect on Zach Galligan's name. Damn it.
I'm sorry. I'm a really big fan of his work in The Hangover. It won't happen again.
Yeah, 20 does look right for him at that time.
Which, what the fuck is his character supposed to be? Is that a thing in the 80s? You could just work at a bank?
I guess.
Well, it's the same thing about how back in 2004 you could make $7 and a ham sandwich and get a home loan.
Yeah.
The 80s were wild. Yeah, no, Tom Hanks could have probably worked in that role. Tom Hanks can work in a lot of things.
Tom Hanks also read for the Judge Reinhold part.
He's too nice.
Tom Hanks is too nice to play that part. Like, he can play a dick. He's too nice to play Judge Reinhold level dick.
I think it's interesting just how fucking close Tom Hanks was to being in Gremlins.
That is pretty funny.
Tim Burton's Gremlins starring Tom Hanks.
I'd watch it.
I would watch that. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of into that. I'd watch that.
Let's go.
In my head, this movie takes place in the same universe as Back to the Future.
Well, funnily enough,
because it's the same backdrop.
I was gonna say it's Hill Valley is also Kingston Falls.
It's just funny because it like very visibly looks like the same valley.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Like it looks like the same town.
Well, that's just because it is. Clock tower and everything. It's just right there in the background. Steven Spielberg produced both.
One of the first notes the studio execs had for the movie was that it was too many gremlins, and Spielberg in response suggested cutting all of them out and naming the movie People. And apparently the studio executives backed off on the whole too many gremlins point after that.
Steven Spielberg like a motherfucking boss.
That's really funny. Imagine just a movie called People.
Yeah.
That would like at that point, Spielberg was kind of on top of the world, so I think it's gotten to that point where it's like you just don't tell Steven Spielberg no. Like if Raiders had not come out by that point, and if E.T. had not come out by that point, you could probably get away with telling Steven Spielberg no. But then once E.T. and Raiders come out, you just don't tell Steven Spielberg no.
So when I was looking at the close-ups of the Gremlins, something came to mind. What studio did this? Universal?
Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
Warner Brothers, I'm sorry. Did Warner Brothers ever sue the people that made Furby? Because it's very fucking obvious that the Furbies are a Gremlins knockoff, especially in the eyes.
Yeah, I don't know if anything ever came of it. But that does... I think there's even a Gremlins Furby. So I don't think they wound up suing. They were like, look, make one of these a Gremlin. We'll call it even.
Oh my
Synergy.
God. Apparently, so Joe Dante still owns the Peltzer Peeler Juicer. And apparently a couple of years ago, he listed it for sale to any devout movie prop collector. And he stated, and I quote, "With the advice and a little help from some friends of mine, I've attached an NFT that will function as the juicer certificate of authenticity because blockchain security, eye roll, yada yada, something something, authenticated forever." But if you're gonna sell an NFT, which you shouldn't, what if you're gonna? Giving like zero fucks about it is probably the way to do it.
Yeah. Joe Dante. We've been talking about Zach Galligan. We're like, how old is he? I'll say this about Billy Peltzer as a character. I wouldn't go as far as to say he's very well defined, because like there is a character there, but it's kind of blank slate-ish. And I think that kind of like that character type is very difficult to play and make him kind of relatable. I think Zach Galligan toes that line of being like, he's giving that character, well, a character, but he's playing it enough to where it's like, oh yeah, this is absolutely the self-insert character for the audience. It's like you're kind of learning everything along with him, and he's got like a decent amount of innocence to be the self-insert character.
Did you guys notice that on the Deagle real estate sign, it said that it's open Monday through Friday from 10:30 to 11:15?
I did not notice this now.
Funny.
The one thing about Mrs. Deagle's death in the movie, it's very funny. It's like she gets back in the electric seat to go back up the stairs, and then it just like skyrockets her to the top of the stairs. There's the one painting. It's of a guy smiling, and he's looking to his right. And it's very funny. It's like whenever she passes, it's like they hold on that painting for like a brief second. And it's just this painting giving a look like, you're about to die, bitch. Bye. Oh, we got to mention the late, great Dick Miller. Dick Miller shows up in all of Joe Dante's movies. The late, great Dick Miller. The only way to properly send an unsolicited dick pic is just send a picture of Dick Miller from Gremlins. That's the only time that's acceptable. But he plays the xenophobic neighbor to Billy Peltzer.
Told you we should have gotten the scene.
Did you ever notice how everything that he predicted came true by the time they drive a truck into his house? They drove a truck into his car.
I'm sorry, I do remember just how fucking funny he was. He kept going on about the goddamn foreigners. And I was like, you were allowed to say that in the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an old curmudgeon. They just kind of were like, yeah, whatever, Grandpa, back to the home.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely like Cold War paranoia times too.
This is true. We were they had not told Mr. Gorbachev tear down the wall, and then Pink Floyd released The Wall,
and then Doug Walker.
Did you know originally that the science teacher died with a dozen hypothermic needles in the face, and Spielberg was like, let's tone that down.
See, now there's the shitty Steven Spielberg that got rid of the kiss and twisters.
Don't remind me of that.
No, I wouldn't say that's the shitty Steven Spielberg. If they just flat out made this movie a horror movie that was not appropriate for kids, absolutely go for the fucking hypodermic needles in the face, but...
Release the hypodermic needles cut.
That is apparently what they filmed. And then Spielberg was like, refilm it.
They also, going back to Judge Reinhold and him kind of disappearing, they do have a finale for him that they shot. I don't know if the footage has ever been released.
He gets mauled to death.
I was going to say, he gets mauled to death in a bank vault, I believe.
Yeah.
He was trying to steal money out of the bank vault when shit hit the fan.
That would have been a good bit.
That's cut out of the movie.
Maybe you guys watched the cartoon that came out a couple of years ago? There's like 2 seasons of it.
See, that's the thing, is I'm a huge Gremlins fan. I've not seen the cartoon.
Apparently it's okay.
But then again, I'm also thinking about this too. I'm a huge James Gunn fanatic, and I've still not seen Peacemaker. Yeah, that's I need to get on that.
Yeah, I need to watch Creatures Commandos.
It's a prequel to the Gremlins. It follows like the Asian shopkeeper when he was a young
Creature Commandos is the prequel to Gremlins?
No, I'm sorry, I meant the Gremlins show.
That is kind of funny. Gremlins, Creature Commandos.
The second season came out like this just a couple months ago.
Huh.
Is that on Netflix?
Is it like
it's on Max.
Ke Huy Quan, isn't he a voice on that show?
No.
I'm trying to remember who like the big name was that does a voice on that show.
Are you thinking of Simu Liu?
Does he do a voice in that show?
In season 2.
Interesting.
George Takei, Matthew Reese, James Hong, BD Wong.
BD Wong. Okay, that's who I was thinking of.
Isaac Wang.
Okay.
I knew a couple of those names.
Oh, I'm sorry, Isaac Wang. You do know who Isaac Wang is, Joe. That's Dee Dee from the movie Dee Dee.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Motherfucker. This guy's like, what's a Dee Dee?
Well, keep in mind, too, it's like I was a baby of the 90s, and you want to know what was released in the 90s? Dexter's Laboratory.
Dee Dee. All right, well.
All right, we're at an hour 20. I think it's time to wrap this episode
up.
Don't bend time. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah,
Hurry up.
Tim, final thoughts on Gremlins.
Gremlins is a great time. It's definitely a Christmas staple. If you haven't seen it, or if you just want to watch it again, go check it out on Max or get the Blu-ray. You go watch it. It's 90 minutes. Or no, it's hour 45. But still, that's a pretty solid length, and you're gonna be enjoying the whole length of it. It's a good time. Back to you, John.
I was going to say, you can pop in Gremlins at any point, and then you'll still have enough time to get your laundry done and have a sandwich. Tanner, final thoughts on Gremlins.
You know, we spent a decent amount of time talking about Gremlins. This might be one of our longest episodes where we just talk about a single movie, at least in a minute. I think Gremlins is great. I love it. It's a great horror movie. It's a great comedy. It's a great Christmas movie. And after talking about it for almost an hour and a half, really the last thing I have to say is, you're telling me Cousin Mel's attorney is called I Am Slime? What kind of goddamn name is that? Motherfucker hiring an attorney named I Am Slime? What the you might as well just hire an attorney that says I did it.
I love OJ.
Joe.
I was about to say that was OJ's first potential candidate for a lawyer. I'll say this real quick, Tanner. it's funny when that character introduces herself in the movie. She's like, I am Slime, attorney at law. And then the kid goes, you said it, not me.
Blah, blah, blah,
And
blah, blah. That's
you ever heard of?
And that is the exact reaction everyone who saw Grandma got run over by a reindeer gave when that scene happened. Terrible movie. You know what?
Fucking movie I ever heard of.
You know what's not a terrible movie? Gremlins. Gremlins is a great movie. Gremlins is a fun time. It's definitely a perfect gateway horror movie for children. I think kids will definitely have a lot of fun with Gremlins. If you got kids, show your kids. Show your kids Gremlins. Show your kids Gremlins. Show your kids Batman Returns. They're gonna have a great time. But yeah, perfect in its imperfections, but it's also just kind of perfect in its own way as well. Movie good. He said the thing. But you want to know who else said the thing?
Ooh.
Your
you
mom.
motherfucker. The person watching/listening to this episode, Bomb Squad Matinee. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button so you can, get notified on when we upload new videos. Specifically, hit that bell button too. While you're down there, hit the like button so we know how much you like us. Comment below too. What do you think of Gremlins? You like Joe Dante? Is the sequel better? Have you seen Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer? And if so, how does your therapist feel about this? Are they upset that you watched this? Are you personally upset that you watched this? I know I'd be upset if I watched that. Comment below, let me know. Check out our Patreon. We do a lot of commentary tracks, and if you donate to $5 tier, you get access to our commentary tracks. We just recorded one for Jack Frost. It won't be up by the time this comes out, but you'll eventually get to it. But we got some other good ones. We got one on a series of unfortunate events. That was a fun one that Tanner and I did. Did one on Space Jam. There was one on the SpongeBob movie that was also very fun.
You can check out the highlights for Sonic and Sonic 2 next week.
Yeah, go check out the highlights for all of our commentary tracks that we've at least uploaded. The funniest one's probably the Sorcerer's Apprentice one. I don't know. They're all pretty good. Go check those out. But if you also donate to our $10 tier on Patreon, you get a shout out at the end of these. Which reminds me, we got to give our 2 shout outs. Shout out to Jason Secords. We love you, buddy. And also shout out to Tanner's mom, Tanya Kraft. We got to give her the round of applause. We love Tanner's mom. Awesome sauce. Check out our Twitch. Sometimes we stream, sometimes we don't. We should get back into that at some point. Check us out on Spotify. We're all on Spotify. Just stay tuned for the next one. Until then, it's been fun coming back, guys. I don't know when I'm coming back. But yeah, it was fun talking Gremlins, and I'll see you around. Bye.
Bye. When I think of Christmas and horror movies, there is a
Let him cook.
Let him cook.
Sorry, I thought I had something over there.
This man was not cooking.
Just slid my ticket across the table and I said, "Sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl."